Morning and welcome to another video. I'm gonna move this over actually. That didn't work at all. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Good morning and welcome to another video. I'm also gonna take this off. I love it for aesthetic purposes, but I can't hear myself. For every one book I finish, I add 5 more to my TBR. There's just so many good books to read. Hi, my name is Crystal Lee. I, live in a van, and I also create YouTube videos. I do everything from Moody Mondays, where you really never know what kind of video you're going to get, to What We Reading Wednesdays, to talking about what we were reading and what we like and what we don't like, and all the books that we want to read and don't read, and all the books on our TBR that we're not reading. We have over 250 books on our TBR. We're taking care of it. All the way to Fridays, when you get Van Life Fridays of me living an alternative lifestyle in a van and loving every minute of it. So if you're up for any of that on any day, please press that subscribe button. If not, it's okay. Let me pop up on your screen whenever you need to hear my voice or see my face or want an entertaining video or talking about books or talking about vans or literally anything. But today is What We Reading Wednesdays, and in this What We Reading Wednesday video, I'm talking about the fantasy trilogy, the Broken Earth series by N.K.Jemisin, which was my first kind of high fantasy series. And a high fantasy adult series. I did a video reading through book 1 and a video reading through book 2. I decided not to do a video reading through book 3 because I just started reading it off camera and I really wanted it to be mine. Let me explain. When I'm recording a lot of videos, it's really nice sometimes to just have moments for myself and not have the camera on. So book 3 was me kind of like taking in the world, the final book of the world, and then my own thoughts and kind of only talking to myself, because whether the camera is on or not, I am talking out loud. And so with that, the third book or third video in this series of me recording or reading through the series is me just reviewing the entire series. So I got tattoos, y'all, and they itching. The Broken Earth series centers around one woman. Her name is Esun, and she is on a journey to find her child who has been kidnapped by her husband. She and her child are what they call in the book origin. These are humans with special powers, and their powers involves being able to manipulate kinetic energy, or all energies of the earth, really. How I've been explaining them in my videos is that they're just really, really, really intense, extreme, more powerful earthbenders. But Miss Jemisin does a great job of explaining in detail every time somebody is using that power. So when I say extreme, extreme earthbending, it's because I am not her. You can tell she really took time to envision what it would look like to watch someone with origin powers do their thing. And I can only reiterate that by saying they're extreme earthbenders. They can manipulate all the levels of the earth, all the energies of the earth. They can cess, is what they call it. They can cess different materials in the earth and kind of pinpoint what it is and essentially how much power they have to use to manipulate it. They can also manipulate people's bodies because that is also energy and material. It's crazy ridiculous. The power system in this book is exceptional. And this is coming from me not really reading anything adult high fantasy before. So we're following Esun on her journey to find her child. And obviously that journey comes with meeting new people, making friends, making enemies, making choices that are not the best, but is necessary for what she wants to do or needs to do. During this time of her searching for her daughter who's been kidnapped by her husband, there is a literally earth-shattering event. It's called a season. And during a season, the earth, the core of the earth is literally shattering and impacting every element on earth, and people have to live through it. Different communities have to figure out how to survive through basically the apocalypse. So not only is our main character Esun going on a mission to save her daughter, but she also has to deal with this apocalyptic event and how people are treating other people during so. It gets very ravenous. It gets very, very scavengery. People die. People are killed. People just want to survive. And that's kind of like, surviving is kind of the entire tone of this series. And how do we survive? Do we survive on a solo mission? Being a a lone wolf, or do we survive in a community that we need to help rebuild ourselves? Those are the questions that Asun asks herself, and that's the journey that she goes on, and we get to watch her. On her journey to saving her daughter, she meets other origin people who teach her more about her own powers and her own sense of self. She meets people from her past that also help her develop a more definitive sense of self, because like the power that they have as an origin, they're also hated by the entire world of people who don't have that power. And the people who don't have that power, they're called stills, and stills still be fucking shit up because they ain't got power. Another plot in this book was that people were meant to fear originy and people who have that power because of lore or ancient text of these one apocalyptic events and this extreme earth-bending power. They documented to say that they are evil and that they should kind of be controlled or killed, especially if they're children. And they have the most unlimited power, but they also don't have the control because they're what? They're children, right? Not only does Asun have to go find her daughter that's been kidnapped by her husband, I'm gonna keep repeating that, she has to go, and Anne has to go through this apocalyptic event. She also has to make sure she is not just protecting herself from people who are trying to survive the apocalyptic event, but she's trying to protect herself from people who hate people with her power, only because they were taught to hate people with that power. N.K.Jemisin takes us on a wild ride and has us asking questions like, what will a mother do to save her child? What would you do when it comes to that kind of situation? How would you view other people if you were always told to hate them because of what they were born with? How do you treat yourself being that person who was born with this power that is so hated by people, but then so needed for the world to survive? Because originy, the people with origin abilities, they end up going to this school for it. Like if they're not killed, they end up going to the school called the Fulcrum, who help them become more controlled with their power, but also make them more helpful to the world. Like they can go out, like after they've trained, they can go out and I don't know, help move rivers or help build, like move a building or something like that. Like they help the world, or they're taught to be someone as helpful, even though people still hate them. They hate them, but they say that they're necessary to help survive. So how do you deal with only being liked when you're helpful, but God forbid you slip from the helpfulness, and then people end up hating you and wanting to kill you? So we also answer that question of how do you deal with that? It has been a world that I have loved being in for I think 2 months. It was really hard for me to read it because it was a great world to be in for 2 months. And it only took me 2 months because it was very, very, in my opinion, high fantasy, because it's new to me. And I had to and wanted to take time to make sure I'm connecting pieces. I'm kind of not being duped or being like blindsided by any twist. I was still blindsided by twists, and that's how you know the book is so good, because you just don't know what's happening, and then all of a sudden something is revealed, you're like, and then everything starts making sense, which that's how books work, right, Crystal? We're not stupid. But like, I wanted to take the time to read to make sure that I'm getting every single detail of the book, and I did that, and it took 2 months to do that, and a lot of brain power. It was so good. So all of that, the questions that that N.K. Jemisin had for us, the main character that she made, her journey, the journey of the others that she has met too, because it wasn't, yes, Asun was the main character and we're seeing everything. We're seeing a lot through her eyes, but we're also seeing the POV of other people who are important to the storyline. So watching or reading all of that with answering these questions and seeing this world play out, seeing this apocalyptic event play out, seeing if Asun can really go rescue her daughter and what that looks like at the end, and then seeing how this apocalyptic event end or may not end, was an amazing ride, and I truly, truly, truly loved it. That was kind of a subtle overview of the trilogy itself. I don't think I could actually say more without spoiling the rest of the books. In my 2 videos, though, I will say that there are a little bit of spoilers, so be okay with that. But what I do want to bring up that has been one of my talking points when talking about this book, because I won't shut the fuck up about it, is N.K. Jemisin's writing style. I think I said it literally a few minutes ago, but the way she has fleshed out the characters and the plot, you can tell she really, really cared about each character, even except for a couple people in their death. I'm just remembering somebody's death, and I was like, well, they're gone now. N.K. Jemisin's writing style was so cool to me because as someone who was taking time out to make sure that she's connecting all the dots as she reads, because it's just kind of like I'll read a page, I was like, wait, that seems familiar. Was it on this page? Was it in this book? And yes, I think that's what she wanted. She wanted not to just flush out things like A, B, C, D. It kind of went like A, X, Y, B, C, D, but it all tallied to an alphabet. To an amazing book. There were times she would bring up a certain topic or event, and I was like, okay. She was like, for example, Bob works here, here, and here. And sometimes it's hard for him to work here because he lost his left leg. And you think it's just a random detail in the book, right? Like, okay, this is Bob. He lost his leg. Maybe you're curious. Oh, how did he lose his leg? Maybe you're curious, but at the same time, because it seems so like unimportant, you're kind of like, okay, well, Bob lost his leg. We know a lot of shit happens in this world. He probably lost his leg to this, this, and this. No, he actually lost his leg to that, that, and that. And the detail of how he lost his leg and how it played a part with him working and losing his leg was crazy. It's crazy. But that kind of mental stimulation is something that I loved in this book because she wasn't just laying out a plot line. She was taking you on a journey. And yes, isn't that what authors are supposed to do? Yes. Do they all do it? No. And I have to keep repeating that this is my first adult high fantasy thing. So I might just be very green and very like, wow, oh my God. But like this is for everyone. But I'm very, very, very grateful that this is my first experience in it because it was so good. I love an author who can stimulate my mind and keep me thinking, keep me on my toes, and not have me like bored. I will say a lot of detail of the origin can go because it's a lot, but it still it wasn't making me bored. It was making me confused. That's different. I was like, wait, like literally I would be reading the book and she'd be detailing the how somebody's using their powers. And I'm like, so she dug up. I'm like trying to figure out like what the detail, like what she was talking about and like trying to do it myself. I got lost in the sauce, my guy. So not like at all bored, just confused as hell sometimes. But it was still so great. Keeping always something in the tank to like surprise the reader, and I like that too. Even to the third book, that was a lot of detailed origin because we're getting to the very beginning of origin. So I knew that the detail of that world before what we read in the first book, needing to kind of like give it that base for the past stuff, it was important. It was just a lot. But even with that, she did an amazing job of detailing everything. Like she literally flushed it out. In addition to that, she used dual or triple or quadruple POVs to tell the story as well. So again, as soon as our main character, but the POV of others help to build her story even more. So it's like multiple timelines coming together to give you what the actual full impact of this woman's journey looks like and how she got here, how she'll get to the end, how she'll find her daughter, who she was before she even had a daughter. Like Miss Asun went through it. Oh my God, if going through it was a person, it would be Asun. Baby couldn't catch a break for shit. I think from the first page, she has never known peace. From the first page, probably since she opened up her eyes, she did not know peace. So when it comes to the characters of the book, each one of them felt so friendly and homey. And yes, you were skeptical of them, just like Asun was skeptical of them, because Asun is our lone wolf. She's the one who feels like she has to do it on her own, like most moms, and feels like she can't trust anyone because of her past, which you'll learn. And each character that comes into her life, you can see her kind of like warming up a bit and then goes back, and then warming up a bit, and then but then at the end, I think the lesson was like, you need community. You need community. You need those people close to you. You need to trust someone to get you to what you're doing. And it was great to follow Asun's journey. And it was great to see all the characters that came in to help her with that journey. And even more so with the whole fleshed out idea. In the back of each of the books in the trilogy, there's an appendix. The appendix. There's an appendix talking about any of the terms brought up that maybe were a little bit confusing in the definition or in the way it came up in the plot. And so in the back of each of the books, there's an appendix talking about all of the different apocalyptic events. They're called the shatterings, or they're called the seasons. Okay. So when I talk about apocalyptic events, it's called the seasons and the earth breaking, da 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 da. But they talk about it because there are multiple of them, and sometimes it kind of is just like a whisper. And so in the back of the book, there's definitions of it, but also when it comes to like different originy things or still things, or sometimes even like random words that we probably didn't even need a definition to. She has them in the back there, so you're never really lost. And if you feel like you can't like pull out any context clues to get you to what this is, she has that for you there. So she understands that this could be a lot to take in. It's a detailed ass world, because how do you describe extreme earthbending? She did it. I can't do it. So she has helped other people to do it with the definitions in the back of the book. You should not feel ashamed if you have to go to the back of the book and look at it. If you are new to my book reviews and this is your first time seeing me, I need you to know that every book that I read has helped me with some other kind of aspect in my life. I have learned so much more from fiction books than I have from any self-help book. And the stories that I read, and I'm so grateful that the stories that I read are written by people who can take a life experience and make a beautiful story out of it. But one of the things that I truly thought about, and I talked about it a lot more in the second book video, the Obelisk Gate. N.K.Jemisin is a Black author. I always feel when Black, brown, or other people of color write their own stories, there's their culture in it. There's also their experience as a Black, brown, or person of color in that book. When I was reading N.K.Jemisin's Broken Earth trilogy, especially for the second book, when we're getting to know Esun a little bit more, but we're also getting to know her daughter a little bit more and what happened on her journey being kidnapped. I would be remiss to not talk about what I reflected on while reading the story of a Black mom going to rescue her Black daughter. Those are important. Please just hold on. People are born with originy powers. And because they are born with a power that people don't understand or were taught to hate unless helpful, it can impact the person who was born with that, you know? The way N.K. Jemisin was able to write about Esun and how she has to teach her children to hide a big part of themselves, to control a big part of themselves, not only quickly, but efficiently. She had to do things that lacked love and lacked care from the perspective of her daughter and her son. So when we were getting the POV of Esun and her daughter when they were like growing up together, we saw Esun teaching her daughter how to control herself, how to be the best kind of origin child she can be in order to keep her safe. And with that lack of care and love, her daughter, her POV was a lot about her questioning her mother's actions, and if she had to do it that way or if she wanted to do it that way, and how it impacted her daughter Nasun on her journey when her dad took her away from her mom. I thought about that as, again, being a Black woman or being a Black person in America. I am born Black. But with the history of Black people with America and Black people, they hated us and they made us slaves and they hurt us, they killed us. Hurt us is a very, very, very light way of putting it. They killed us and they made us work for them because we were only good to them if we were working for them or giving them something of ourselves, right? And even though we're not in the times of like slavery or even in the times of segregation or even the times when we would be like lynched or just killed for just going about our fucking day, there are still things that the Black community has to teach their younger children of how to stay safe in America because of the color of their skin. And I say Black because I am Black. Brown people and other people of color go through this as well. But I couldn't help but seeing that play out in this fantasy series, even though it talks about powers that we don't have because we only use part of our brain. I feel like we could if we use all of our brain, but that's a story for a different day. If I can just keep with a serious topic and not go off a tangent, that'd be great. But like, we're just human. But the color of our skin and what people have been taught about people with our color is that we're only useful for this, that, and that. So even though we're not in slave times or discrimination, even though we're not in slave times or segregated times, the teachings of how to stay safe while being Black is still here. Like, we still have to, because of all like the police killings, because of all the other discriminatory things that have happened. Even now, so with how the world is politically, like, how do we teach children that although there's freedom for a lot of people, it's always kind of like a little warped for us. And how do you teach a child that quickly and efficiently, but with love and care? And that is kind of something I think the Black community hasn't been able to figure out yet, from my own experience, and then talking to just other Black Americans about how they were raised to see themselves, right? And how to see themselves, but also be taught how the world sees us. It's done sometimes with care, but with a lack of love. And how does that teach a child to see themselves? They can grow up with self-hate. They can grow up with a lot of anger issues toward other people because of how they treat us, or anger to themselves about being this thing that they cannot change. Seeing that play out in this series made me feel seen, but it made me understand the characters a lot more, because I could put myself in their shoes, minus the powers, because I only use part of my brain. But like, it was interesting and emotional to see that play out in a story that has like powers in it. And I can't not put my own personal life into the stories that I read, because that's how we relate. That's how we understand other people's stories. It's how we can understand the characters in front of us. All the fiction books that I have read, especially by Black authors, have always been really emotional and beautiful, because you just get to see yourself in the story and you get to just understand. Just being able to relate back to like real life has been really good. And that's why I really, really like reading Black authors or brown other people of color, because they put their experience into it. I'm not saying that if you're reading a book by a non-Black, brown person of color that you won't feel that. It's just different because of our history in the world. And if you're looking for a book for that as well, I would recommend it on that alone. And with that, I should say as well, is the idea of identity, who we are, or who we are, who we want to be, versus who people have told us to be, who they want us to be, and how they can use us for themselves. Figuring out your life in this world, whether it be a fantasy world or the real world, is hard, because you have all of that. You have people telling you who you should be from birth, who you have to be from birth, who you have to be because of the certain skills that you have, or the family you were born into. What happens when you take a fucking step back and ask yourself, well, who the fuck do I want to be? What do I want my story to be? Who do I want to be after this? I get to decide. And yes, in that world, in the Broken Earth series world, it's harder to decide, since there's a whole system making originy people either killing them or making them a tool. It still is a very powerful thing to take a step back with everything that you've learned and witnessed, and ask yourself, okay, with all of this that I've witnessed myself, do I agree with it? Do I want to change it? Do I want to be something different? And who exactly do I want to be? Taking in new information to give yourself a new story, or to set a different identity, one that you want to be, one that you feel more close to, not because someone says you should, but just simply because you chose to. That is also something that was like really just cool in the book to read. And I say all this like it's siloed to this one series. And I understand fantasy is basically real world stuff with like dragons, or real world stuff with like magic. I understand that happens in a lot of books, and the topics I'm talking about here can definitely be the same in other fantasy series as well. But I'm talking about this fantasy series and how it impacted me. So we'll leave that there. All in all, I gave the first book in the series, the 5th season, a 5-star. I gave the second book in the series, The Obelisk Gate, a 5-star. And I gave the third book in the series, The Stone Sky, 4 stars. So if you want to do a little bit of weedy math on that, I gave the entire series a 4.66. Basically 5 stars. I think I'm gonna be very honest. I think I gave the last book 4 stars because of all the detail in it. I was like, a little bit of this detail could have been put in different books to not be overwhelming. I was overwhelmed. It was a lot, but it was still so good. If you're looking for an adult fantasy series written by a Black author to read, pick it up. I got mine at the library. There's still some on the shelves of any bookstore for sure, even in used bookstores. It was an amazing book. or trilogy that came out, I think, over 10 years ago. If anything I said about the book made you interested, please go read it. If you've read it already, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations of other fantasy series that are kind of like this, that may have the same feel and I may like based on everything I just said now, please let me know in the comments down below. If I missed anything in the book that I think is really, that you think is really important to bring up, I just, please also put in the comments down below. I just don't want to give too much away. I want to give an overview of it without spoiling it, because I feel like I spoiled some of it in my other videos. And if people are just looking for recommendations, this is a video for them. I don't know. I love you. I am grateful for you. Did you subscribe? No, it's fine. I still love you and I'm still grateful for you, but you should subscribe. I love you. I am grateful for you. And I will see you in the next story. Bye.